The show started with the tag team match between Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta versus Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia, and the result of this match was Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta defeated Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia by pinfall after hitting the Gotch neutralizer from Claudio Castagnoli on Chris Jericho. We get a video package of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks getting dissolved out of AEW history like Thanos just snapped his fingers, and we go to break. Then we saw the AEW World Tag Team Championship No. 1 Contenders match between Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood vs Keith Lee and Shane Swerve Strickland, and the result of this match was Swerve in Our Glory won by pinfall with Ground Zero from Keith Lee on Dax Harwood to become No. 1 contenders to the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Post-match, the Ass Boys and the new No. 1 contenders attack FTR, but the Acclaimed rush down from the stage to make the save. Renee Paquette interviews Saraya backstage, and they're all smiles, Renee calling her the Joan Jett to her Blondie, when Dr. Britt Baker, DMD rolls up to start shit and yell at Saraya. Renee tells her this isn't how you do this and they're going to do it right, later. Back from the commercial, Renee Paquette interviews Maxwell Jacob Friedman on the stage, and she asks about his match at Full Gear, and he does a bad impression of Jon Moxley, talking about mashing his bones and drinking his piss. He calls John mid, with all due respect, and Renee points out you can't just use all due respect as a get out of disrespect free card, which gets him to tell her to shut her mouth. He calls William Regal a disgusting elderly rat but says, to his point, that he won't use the Dynamite diamond ring against Moxley, because he doesn't need it. He's taken every grudge he has and mashed them down into a chip that he put directly on his shoulder, and he's not fighting Regal, Moxley, or Penta at Full Gear, he's fighting every sorry scumbag that ever told him he's not good enough. MJF said he's gonna take that chip off his shoulder and shove it down each of their throats when he's the new AEW World Champion. Stokely Hathaway comes down and talks a bunch about taking care of Jon Moxley before Full Gear. Friedman cuts him off and says he'll cut Stokely some slack, but if Moxley gets past Penta tonight, he needs him at 110%, so he needs Hathaway to not so much as look at him, or he's fired. After the commercial break, we saw the match between American Dragon Bryan Danielson vs Sammy Guevara, and the result of this match was American Dragon Bryan Danielson won the match by referee stoppage. The next match happened between Jamie Hayter vs Riho, and the result of this match was Jamie Hayter won the match by pinfall with the Ripcord Lariat, and post-match, Toni Storm comes to the stage and holds up the title belt. In the main event, we saw a match between Jon Moxley vs Penta at L0M for the AEW World Championship, and the result of this match was Jon Moxley wins by pinfall with Death Rider to retain the AEW World Championship. Post-match, the Firm hit the ring and beat Moxley down, and then MJF comes to ringside and looks conflicted, taking his jacket off, but he can't bring himself to the ring and stop the Firm, and he fired Stokely Hathaway. Ethan Page lays him out with a big boot and the Firm beats Friedman down too, and All Ego hits the Ego's Edge on MJF. They take MJF for the ramp, Morrissey drags him over to the timekeeper's table and they powerbomb him through it, and the show goes off air.